Look at an example of building a better world with Theranos. This is a healthcare company, good example of some of the wealth that is created with healthcare companies. And just as a case in point, it reduces the cost of diagnostics involving blood work. I believe the company was founded by Elizabeth Holmes, who I believe now is in the 1%, I think. The 1%, I should say, because she is now estimated at $4 billion, I believe, the last count. So it reduces the cost of diagnostics involving blood work, also provides consumers with the power in the sense that you can go in and, let me give you an example of this one. So a few years ago, if I wanted to get a testosterone test, and I get testosterone checked every 2 years, just because it's one of the panels that's good. Also estrogen, thyroid, those hormones. Well, for measuring total testosterone, it was over $100 that I had to pay. The insurance company also had to pay. And then I had to have an appointment with a doctor to get approval for getting my blood drawn to evaluate total testosterone. Now you may be thinking, why do you need a doctor's approval just to get a blood test, right? The same thing with thyroid, and the same thing with estradiol. Like, for instance, I had to sit down with a doctor, right? So you have to pay the $100 for the blood test, or I think it was a $25 copay. Then I have to spend time talking to the doctor, and then of course the insurance has to pay as well. Well, the way this works is you can go to a clinic, and several people have just paid the money to have the blood work done, right? And they can bypass all of that. So it saves consumers time, it saves them money. It's an excellent idea of something that builds a better world. Now, I do want to mention here, because healthcare offers the most potential, and I do have a video about the healthcare labor shortage. But when we talk about technology, and we talk about technology to lower healthcare, there are three major challenges, okay? They will always be required, right? So there are more billionaire opportunities right now in this industry than in most. The exception here is water. You're going to become a trillionaire if you solve the water problem, right? But there are a couple of challenges that if you want to become one of those healthcare entrepreneurs, these challenges you should be aware of. The first one is the bureaucratic challenges. Bureaucrats hate change, right? Therefore, they're more likely to stifle whatever innovation you come up with. They want to slow everything down because that doesn't make them very happy, right? They don't like change. One thing about bureaucrats. I'm going to do a jump and then come back to this second point here. There's also the potential from lawsuits from gene incompatibility depending on your solution. Case in point, if penicillin was invented today, it wouldn't be on the shelf. The reason is because some people have allergic reactions and die. And that would be enough to remove it from the shelf. That just would. But penicillin has cured so many diseases, has cured so many problems, that it has a lot of evidence behind it. Probably wouldn't be the case today. Anytime 1% of people suffer from something, and it could just be gene incompatibility, right? And doctors don't know that ahead of time a lot of the times. Same thing with people who are developing solutions. And then I put here on the second point, hostility toward the rich. I've already seen this in my lifetime, where someone will solve a problem and they're a hero for a day, but then 10 years later, people are all bitter and angry at him. Michael Dell's a good example. There are people who hate Michael Dell, even though he's made computers affordable, right? There will come a day where people will think Elizabeth Holmes probably is an evil person. Why? Well, because, you know, she came up with a great solution. She'll become wealthy and wealthier because of it. And if she comes up with other solutions, her wealth will grow, and then people will get all bitter and angry, right? I always say this. Think of it this way. The same people who followed Jesus put him on the cross. It's very interesting. The same people who praise someone for a solution are later the same people who demonize that person. This is a really big point, because if you're going to solve a problem, if you cured cancer, you would be a hero for a day, but then there would come a day where people would hate you. And I don't think a lot of people who are innovators understand this point, because it's like you would be poor. As a case in point, I would be paying a lot more for blood work than I would be now, right? And by the way, as I get older, I'm going to have more blood work, so I'll probably have 3 or 4 of those a year. I'm going to be saving now a couple of hundred a year because of this solution. So there's a lot of opportunities in healthcare, but you should be aware there are also these 3 major drawbacks to coming up with solutions, And for people who are outside, if you're in the bureaucracy, shut it down. If you're in the legal, shut down those lawsuits, make it harder to do, because it's not going to help solutions. And then just the overall attitude toward the rich. If they're rich because they're solving problems, there's nothing wrong with that at all. They should be rich.